Hey guys, well, the sun is directly in my eyes, and so if I'm squinting, I apologize. But anyways, today I wanted to do the video on compost tea and my reasons why I don't make or use compost tea. Now, from the get-go though, I want to clarify that, look, I'm not an expert, and I don't think anybody is an expert on really anything. You know, we can all learn, even people that have a profession doing something can always learn more about their profession. So none of us are experts, and I don't want anybody getting mad at me, I don't know, thinking that I'm being zealous or I'm being kind of confrontational or anything like that. I'm not. These are only my opinions and my philosophy on it, and I'm just saying that it works. This is what works for me. If you have a different opinion, you do things a different way, that's great. I'm not criticizing that. I'm not condemning that. And I wanted to clarify it because a lot of people have been asking me and talking about it, and so this is why I'm doing the video. So, like I say, I'm not an expert. I'm just telling you what I do that works. So I have 6 reasons why I don't do compost tea. I think a lot of times people complicate things. I think a lot of times the solution is more complicated than the problem. It reminds me of that movie Happy Gilmore. You remember that? Where Happy is trying to learn to play golf, and the guy that's teaching him is telling him, okay, now he goes, just tap it in, now stand a certain way, and I can't remember all the details on it, but he's just telling him all these things, and Happy just goes, stop, just let me put the ball in the hole, you know. So I look at it that way with compost. So just let me put the ball in the hole, you know. So I just but anyways, I've got 6 reasons why. Number 1, I think it's unnecessary. I think you're making extra steps and you're wasting your time. And it'll become clear when I get through the other 5 steps. But you're spending so much time doing something that is completely unnecessary. I don't know how this all started. This compost tea thing has been going on for a long time, but it's just, to me, you're just complicating things. You're just spending all this time making the tea and dumping it on your plants, and for what? You're not getting, I mean, I don't want to say you're not getting any benefit, but you're putting too many extra steps into the process. Number 2 is you're only adding small amounts of the nutrients from the tea. In other words, even if you're doing the brew, when people are putting the stone in there and they're putting, you know, the rock in and the bubbler and they're putting molasses in, or if people are just putting it into the pail, mixing it all up and dumping the water in, you're only adding a small amount that it can extract from that compost. And so I think you're missing a lot of the nutrients that are in there. And that's my opinion again, so whatever it's worth, I think you're missing a lot of the nutrients. So that's number 2. Number 3, when you dump the water or the tea onto the dirt or the soil, you're putting a lot in there to try to kind of add the nutrients to the soil, but whenever you water or dump the tea on, it goes down, it goes past the roots, and it goes out the bottom, and you're losing a lot of it because your purpose when you water is to saturate the soil. And so when you're saturating that soil, it's going down, it's leaching out, it's not staying in the soil. It's only going to go, it's going to go out as far as the soil can handle it, and then it's just going to leach it out, and you're not getting the benefit. Number 4, you're creating a lot of extra stress. Gardening should be stress-free. I garden to relieve stress and to relieve anxiety or anything else that might be going on. I come out here and I start gardening and I'm like, man, the world just kind of passes me by. I do it to relax. It's relaxing for me. If I'm worried about my plants and I got to do this testing and I got to worry about this, I got to make tea, I got to do all, I'm like, that's stress. You don't need it. Gardening is stress-free. And, you know, like people are, I watch people, like a lot of YouTube videos, people are having their soil tested. You know what? In the 35 or 40 years that I've been gardening, I've never had my soil tested. Ever. I never have. And I'm never going to. And if somebody wants to come along and test it for me, then knock yourself out. But I am not going to test my soil. I got better things to do in my time. And a lot of people will say, well, how do you know how your soil is? Well, okay. look at my plants, look at my vegetables, look at my fruit, look at my trees. And you can tell right away. You taste my fruit and vegetables, and you know right away that I've got good soil, I have good production, and I consider myself to be successful with the methods that I use. I'm not going to stress it. I'm not going to be testing my soil and doing all this crap just to, I don't know, make myself feel better. I don't know. But number 5, I don't want to be dumping tea, compost tea, in liquid form on my plants or near my plants. I know that I've gone through the whole Q&A before with the foliar feeding with compost tea and all that. I don't subscribe to it. I don't want that compost tea to splash up and to get on my leaves and whatnot, or any of my fruit that may be growing. So I'm not going to be dumping tea on my plants. I know a lot of people do, and knock yourself out. I just don't. And then number 6, this is not a reason not to, but this is a reason to not. Does that make sense? It made sense in my mind when I thought it, but a reason not to. I should tell you exactly first what I do. And what I do is I take my compost, this beautiful rich compost here, and I lay it as a mulch down. I don't till it in, I don't dig it. I lay it an inch or two on the top of the soil, and I walk away. And that brings me to number 6. Laying this as a mulch adds to the microbial activity and the soil food web that is created when you're adding material. In other words, when I put material on top as a mulch, the worms are going to come up and they're going to activate within it, and they're going to create this beautiful web, is what I'm saying. By dumping the water on, it's just they're maybe drinking, but it's not really, in my opinion, adding to the food soil web. And putting the compost on does. So that's number 6, and basically that's what I do. I lay the compost and I walk away. I don't complicate things, I don't stress, I don't make extra work for myself. I got better things to do with my time. So just lay it down, and when you water and when it rains, it's going to slowly seep through all that compost, and it'll make its own tea, and it'll keep adding to it, and then that compost will settle into the soil. It'll become part of the soil, it'll add to the soil food web, and all that microbial activity will take place within the soil, and it'll add to it, it'll help it, and it'll give it nutrition and whatnot. And that's basically, in my opinion, the only way to do it. So I don't make compost tea. I'm not condemning that people do make it. I say, if it works for you, it's good. I mean, I know that it works for you because you're doing the same thing basically that I'm doing. You're just adding some extra steps. And I just refuse to add those steps because I want gardening to be fun. I don't want to be testing my soil. I don't want to be worrying about it. I don't care. The labs can walk off into the sunset as far as I'm concerned. I mean, 100, 150 years ago, they never had these labs. They weren't concerned. I mean, my ancestors, I come from a long line of gardeners and farmers. And I don't ever, growing up, I don't ever remember any of them worrying about it or testing their soil. They spread the compost out across. They had cows and we had chickens, and they spread that in the fall and let that seep in. And we're never, ever did we ever put some in a cup or whatever and send it to a lab or anything like that. I'm just not going to do it. My results are my results, and for what it's worth, those are my reasons for not even considering compost tea. However, since one person actually really got on me big time and just kept saying, no, you've got to try it. You have to try it. And I said, I don't need to try it. They said, no, if you try it, you're going to see the results. Now, okay, the results can't be any better than what I'm doing. I know that my results are good. However, to pacify this person, I did make a video on compost tea. And I made some compost tea just to see, just to see if it was beneficial or not. So I went and I made the video. And my result, well, you know what, I won't spoil it. I'll just go ahead and run the video of me making compost tea.
Oh. Oh. Oh, that's horrible. Oh. You guys and your compost tea. I'm not going to listen to you ever again. Oh. Oh, man.